broke, don't fix it. Somebody should have told that to Givenchy because they are here with the worst reformulation ever. Hey y'all, it's Heather, and I may be smiling because I love makeup, I love filming, I love talking about makeup with y'all, but I'm sad because my beloved Givenchy loose setting powder has been reformulated, and we're gonna compare it to the new version, the more expensive version. This is the Givenchy Prisme Libre loose setting powder. I have the shade number 4, and I love this powder. It's so great. It's such a beautiful mattifying setting powder. It gives a little bit of color correction, but it sets everything down and keeps things looking matte without looking flat. It's really a beautiful powder, and they recently announced that they were reformulating and they were going with a talc-free version. Now, right away, I can tell you, I bought the mini of the new powder. The mini was available, and I thought, let me just start with that instead of buying the full size. The packaging is different. The older packaging is a little more luxe feeling. It's like this like leathered texture on the top, and then it has the Givenchy logo, whereas this is like smooth plastic. This top is just all smooth plastic, but you do have the Givenchy like embossed in here. You also get less product for more money in the Givenchy. Now the full size right here was $58 and you got 12 grams of product. The full size of this powder over here, you get 10 grams, but it's $60. So more money for less product. They're wanting to do a talc-free version, and I'm sad because I love this powder and I'm not happy about the reformulation. I will say it looks like the lighter shades of this powder are more affected because the deeper shades do have to have more pigment. So shade 3 and under looks like it's got even more of a shiny finish from what I'm seeing online than the deeper shades do. I have shade 4, and people are saying that that's not supposed to be as shiny, but I'm finding that to be untrue. I have a Clean Singe Beauty powder puff. We'll use one side for the old version, one side for the new version, but I want to start off over here on this side and we'll put the old version on. I really like using a powder puff to apply powder. So I have the powder here. This is my old version, and I'm gonna just press it into the puff. And I'm just gonna press it under my eye. I really like to kind of like work my powder in and press like this. And I'll just kind of like work it in so that the puff will kind of get the excess powder and things will look nice and smooth, and I'll know that everything is locked down. So here I have set with the powder. You can see the color correction in action, right? It sets everything down. It gives me some brightness. It definitely lightens things. So that's one of the things about the Givenchy that I really liked, is that it does have that color correction. So if you want that blurring, you can get that. If you want that like smooth, brightened, lifted effect, you can get that. You can pick your shade, right? Because they have so many different shades. The pink one for the lighter skin tones, and they have deeper shade, like all those shades. So that is definitely a point for the Givenchy. But now I'm gonna try the new version. I'm gonna hope that we get something very similar over here because I've got things to do today. We've got the new version. I've got the clean side of my puff. I'm gonna pick it up, work it in. I always work the powder in, like in the cap. And we're gonna try it on this side. I can immediately tell when I am picking it up on my sponge, when I see it in the cap, that this is like a thicker powder than the one over here. It's not as fine. It just looks thicker. Let's see. Let me get my hopes up. So I'm gonna work this in the same way I do on the other side. I feel like immediately it's not working in as effortlessly as the other side, and I don't know if it's because that powder is thicker, like on this side. You gotta see this. You gotta see it. You gotta see. If I have to see it, you have to see it. Look at how that's clinging. I'm not giving up hope. I'm gonna work this powder in. Listen, I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying to like see if I can work this in. I'm adding a little more powder to see because it's like clinging weird in some areas. And I'm gonna do the rest of the face just like I did with the other powder. Down here, down, and I'm just trying to work it. I'm trying to work it in, and I feel like I can literally count the pores on my face. This is so not cool. This is so not cool, Givenchy. Why? Do you see this? This is the new version. This is the old version. It's so much thicker over here, so it's like clinging weird. It's grabbing onto things weird. It looks thicker. It's not it. Before I finish the rest of my makeup, I want to go outside. I want to take you with me so that we can see this in the sunlight. In the sunlight and in front of a window, you can still see the texture. You can still see the shine. You can still see how it emphasizes every single pore I have. Even to the touch, like when I touch my face here, it feels smooth. And when I come here, it feels like a little textured. I can feel the texture here. I can feel the texture here. It's just odd. And I am using a foundation, a primer, a concealer that I love. I'm not using any new skincare, nothing like that. So I know it's not that. That's just crazy how you can feel the difference. I'm gonna finish up the rest of my makeup. I'm gonna try to like even this out with the old powder, try to get a cohesive look, and I'll be back because I wanna share with you some recommendations of other powders. Let's talk about some powder alternatives that do have talc. So if you're like me and you're like, leave the ingredient in, you'll like these. This is the Huda Beauty powder. Now this one I pulled first because Huda Beauty has a big shade range, just like Givenchy. They have so many shades. They have brightening shades, color correcting shades. They have more true to skin shades. I actually have several shades of this powder because I love it. I use banana bread for when I want a little bit of brightening. I have the peach shade for when I want that like different effect. Peach can be really beautiful on warm or olive warm complexions. Now this powder I would say is the most mattifying and smoothing, those two working together. Where the Givenchy was mattifying, but my oil would come through quicker, but in a pretty way than it does when I use the Huda powder. This is very matte. It locks everything in, and this is the loose setting powder that I've been using the longest. So this is the one that I can like speak to the most because I've used it, repurchased, used it, repurchased, used it, repurchased. It's an amazing, amazing powder at a great price point. You get a great amount of product, and it's so good, and it also comes in minis. The other powder I pulled, and this one also has talc in it, is the One Size powder. This is an amazing, amazing powder. It does a lot of what the Huda Beauty powder does, but this powder is a little thicker in texture. It's still not as thick as the Givenchy reformulation in my opinion, but it keeps things matte and smooth like the Huda. But if I'm having a little more texture under my eyes, I do prefer the One Size because I do feel like that little bit of thickness that it has does cover the texture and sit better over that one. So I love these powders equally, but for a little bit different reasons. They both extend the wear of my makeup. They both keep me matte for a long time, but this one will just do a little bit better over texture, where I'll reach for the Huda when I want something that's a little more finely milled. Beautiful, beautiful powder. This one also comes in a good shade range. I have several shades of this one. I bought translucent. I have their new peach one. I've also bought their deeper shade. I believe it's honey. They have multiple different shades, so you can really get that color correction if that's what you're looking for. This is the Sigma Soft Focus Setting Powder, and this one is not going to give you the super matte effect like the Huda or the One Size. It's going to be a more soft matte, a more skin-like matte. So it's not going to be super duper intense matte. My oils do come through with this one in a really beautiful way. This one is super, super gorgeous, and I was looking at the ingredient list and I did not see talc on the ingredient list. The only downside to this one is that it doesn't come in as many shades. There are only 4 shades of this Sigma powder, so hopefully they will expand in the future. Maybe they will create a peach, a pink, a deep dark yellow shade, something like that would be really nice. But this is a beautiful powder and it's very underrated. I remember when this launched, I put this in my yearly favorites because it's so beautiful, and I do have a deeper shade for setting like the perimeter of my face. So I have this shade for like under eye brightening, and then I have a deeper shade to set the rest. It's really beautiful, and it can be used too, not just to set and lock everything in, but to kind of buff and use as a finishing powder. It's really, really gorgeous, and it has that not intense matte look that the One Size and the Huda has. It's more of a soft focus matte finish. Also wanted to talk about the Hourglass powder. This is the translucent translucent setting powder, their veil powder. I have the shade medium, and I held off on trying this for a long time because they only had the translucent shade, but I got the shade translucent medium when it launched. And I would say if you're looking for a powder that is not matte, not soft matte, but has more of a soft focus, more luminous finish that's a little more on the glow side without emphasizing pores and textures, this is the best bet from Hourglass. It's a really, really beautiful powder, really finely milled, and this one is also talc free. So if that is something that you're looking for, you might really like this one. It's definitely giving more glow, but not this horrible glow that the Givenchy new formula is giving me over here. Not that, hello, look at every pore. Like, even when I tried to correct that powder, I'm still not looking my best over here, but it is what it is. We got to keep it moving today. So I would say if you want something that's going to set your makeup, lock everything in, but you don't want to go for a matte finish, this one from Hourglass is really, really beautiful, and it works for me and my oily skin. I do usually touch up if I'm going to be wearing this makeup all day and I'm using this setting powder. I don't have to. It's not like it's going to break apart, but it will let my oils come through a little bit quicker than the others. If you missed out on the original Givenchy formula, congratulations. You don't know what you're missing, so you won't have to mourn it like the rest of us. Skip this. Skip this. This is horrible. Honestly, it's horrible. It's honestly gonna go in like my worst of the year products. I mean, the texture, it's heavier, it looks worse. Like, there's nothing about it that's good. And yeah, I hate it. What else can I say? Givenchy, you really messed up on that one. I would love to know what your favorite loose setting powder is. I definitely have others that I like. I'm currently testing a couple, the new one from Tarte, the new one from Polite Society. I will link that video for y'all where I'm trying the one from Polite Society so you can see. I know a lot of people love that one, but I'm not feeling it so much. Check out some of my other videos because I can and do talk about makeup all the time, and I love bringing you good, thorough, in-depth reviews.